Greetings, everyone. Happy today, and welcome to day 17 of 40 Days of Wellbeing Concepts for Balance. And today's well-being concept is give your inner critic a hug. And the question is, who is this inner critic that barges into our thoughts uninvited in the first place? Well, our inner critic has its roots as an evolutionary tool for survival. Its job is to notice when something's wrong or problematic and maybe just a little challenging. So it helps us to survive by predicting and preparing for the worst and anticipating potentially life-threatening situations in our environment. This inner critic is a voice within us that often emerges from the shadows of our consciousness and casts doubt and judgment upon the things that we do, our thoughts, and our self worth. It's a combination of our fears, our insecurities, and past conditioning. And it's also echoes the critical voices that we have internalized over time from others. And this inner dialogue becomes both a hindrance and a catalyst for growth. It depends on how we choose to engage with it. However, when the tool is turned against ourselves, it's not so helpful. The unevolved version of our inner critic, who doesn't have survival threats to deal with, right? When we're not in survival mode or real survival mode, is anticipating the judgments and condemnation of other people or institutions. And that could be our parents, religious leaders, teachers, influential friends, relatives, or some other authority figure. And in order for us to be protected from being rejected or shamed by those people, places, things, the inner critic learns to internalize their rules and constantly reminds us through that voice in our head. And so, to manage the inner critic, it's important to first recognize it's there and what it's doing. And then we can acknowledge that it's not an inherent truth, but rather a perspective that was shaped by our past experience and societal influences. And when we bring that awareness to the inner critic, we can start to differentiate between its voice and your authentic self. So the voice that has some value, that that helps us to take that next step forward, to use consideration and discernment versus the voice that is holding us back because of past experience. So, some ways that we manage the inner critic is, well, first of all, to have some self compassion and remember that we're human beings and we have flaws and we're going to make mistakes. And then another way is to question the validity. As I mentioned, are they based on facts or are they exaggerated fears? And we get to do some reframing there. Thirdly, we practice mindfulness. We practice meditation and other practices that help us become balanced. And from this balanced state, this aware state, we're able to observe the inner critic without becoming entangled in its story. Another way is we're setting boundaries, establishing boundaries with our inner critic by consciously deciding when to listen to it and when to dismiss its voice. You have the power to choose which thoughts to entertain and which to release. A fifth way is to reframe the critic's role. So instead of viewing the inner critic as an adversary, consider it as a misguided protector trying to shield you from failure or disappointment. And when we understand its intentions, once again, you can redirect it towards something more constructive and something that is more beneficial. A sixth way is to engage in positive self-talk. We talked about that earlier. Talking to yourself is fine, just don't go too far. We can replace negative self-talk with affirmations and positive statements about yourself. And this will gradually shift the dialogue, your internal dialogue that the inner critic is generating. And if you feel like you can't do it by yourself, if it's really gotten out of control, then you want to seek support. When that voice in your head becomes overwhelming, seek support from a therapist, a coach, a trusted friend, or someone who can provide you with some valuable perspective and guidance. So I'm going to read from today's Wellbeing concept, and balance is a juggling act, how to start a mental revolution for a change in thought. Day 17, give your inner critic a hug. You are your worst critic. No one speaks to you more than the voice in your head. This voice, which often tells you that you are not good enough, strong enough, smart enough, rich enough, or imposing any other limited belief, is generated by your inner critic. Rather than measuring, comparing, and evaluating yourself, consider simply observing yourself and then accepting yourself. Free yourself from the burdensome thought that you must do or be more right now. You'll have to be vigilant. Negative self-thoughts can be so subtle, you may not realize you are thinking them. Observation is the key to taming the critical narrative and to breakthrough. You can allow the critical voice its position without having a battle in your mind. Instead, gently direct your thoughts to a more balanced response, one that recognizes we are all works in progress. Self-acceptance is allowing yourself to be wherever you are right now without judgment. Self-acceptance is an important mental balance tool because it allows you to surrender your ego's need to have everything occur in the manner and timing of your choice. It also quiets the inner critic long enough to hear more subtle and primordial intelligence that tells you, yes, you can, and how. Today, observe the voice in your head, critical commentary, and your emotional response to situations with as little judgment as possible. Notice. And now it's time to take that next step to expand your mind and journal your thoughts around today's well-being concept. And throughout the day, bring it into your day. Whenever you hear that inner critic coming up, give it a hug, give it a warm hug, and tell it what it is that you are doing, what your focus is. And then this evening, I invite you to take some time again to do the evening summary and insight gate. Remember, just hearing and thinking about something doesn't internalize it. You've got to feel it, and writing it down helps you to internalize it as well. So happy journaling, and I will talk to you tomorrow with day 18.